If you'd like online business explained to you in a way that you can actually understand, go to latenightim.com/explain. It's completely free and I made it just for you. Now, how about an episode? Episode 183.
Late Night Internet Marketing.
This week on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, we welcome Gideon Shalwick to the house. I'm really excited because I've heard about Gideon for years. We have a ton of mutual friends, but I've never gotten to talk to him face to face, or at least microphone to microphone. And this week, he's going to tell us the one thing that you can do to increase your video views and conversions right now, starting today. All this and more on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
The Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
You've been working for somebody else, but you want a business to run yourself. You want to know how to start and where to begin. Can you get out your comfort zone, my friend? Yes, you can do it right when it's late at night. At the end of the day, your dreams burning inside. So keep it up and you will find that you're building your business one night at a time.
And now, broadcasting late at night from a little studio in the big state of Texas, your host, Mark Mason.
Hey, how's everyone doing? I am Mark Mason, your host of the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast. Welcome to episode 183. I am so excited to have Gideon Shalwick in the house. Now, Gideon and I have had mutual friends for years and years and years, but we've never even met or spoken before. It turns out that Gideon is really good friends with Leslie Samuel. He's actually quite famous, but we've never met. We've never crossed paths at a conference. We've never been at the same place at the same time with Leslie. And so I was really excited to hear from Gideon and to be able to get him on the show because he's been working on kind of an amazing passion project around video. He's got some startling stats about what you can do to actually increase your video conversions. Now, it turns out this is going to be a two-part episode. I'm going to deliver all of the great information that Gideon offers about video conversions, including his backstory and how he got to where he is now in this episode, in episode 183. Then in episode 184, we dig deep and find out why Gideon is doing the do that he does. See, why you do the business that you do has a ton to do with how successful you're going to be. This is such an important topic that I broke the second half of the interview out into a separate episode, and we'll deal with that in 184. But for now, I'd like for you to sit back and enjoy Gideon Shalwick.
Hey, don't touch that dial. It's time for another fantastic guest on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Okay, Gideon, I am so excited to actually finally talk to you. I would say face to face, but I guess mic to mic after all these years. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And yes, it is great to finally meet electronically, I suppose. Now we just got to meet in person, and we've got full circle.
Yeah, that's so exciting because, you know, my good friend, Leslie Samuel, who's also your very good friend. In fact, I was just with Leslie this weekend. He has told me about you for years. You're a huge part of Leslie's origin story. And he claims that you're one of the nicest people that he's ever met. I wonder if you could confirm or deny that rumor.
Well, it depends what time of day and how much energy I've got left and how many children I still have to feed and put to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in general, I try and be, good to people.
Well, your reputation precedes you, and you're actually, speaking of bed, it's late for me, but it's early for you. You're somewhere on the other side of the world from me, right?
Yeah, calling from down under. It's about an hour before lunch here, so 11 o'clock here in the morning.
Okay.
Which is good.
My audience, a lot of people in my audience are relatively new to online business and internet marketing. And you are quite not new. In fact, your origin story goes all the way back to a guy that, and beyond this, I guess, to a guy that you were involved with, Yarrow, who's a lot of people consider one of the fathers of blogging, online blogging, and building a business out of blogging. Can you talk a little bit about that whole thing with Yarrow and how that came along and building a blog and all that kind of stuff from that perspective?
Yeah, sure thing. So 2 years before I met Yarrow, we were still in New Zealand, me and my wife, and we both had jobs. And one day I told my wife, I said, look, it's kind of cool. We both had jobs, it's stable, etc. But I want to do something different. I want to start a business. I have this real desire to have my own business. And she said, okay, well, cool. Why don't you start applying for jobs? And once you get a job, that'll be our ticket to get to Australia. And so I did. And within just 3 months, I had a record of 0 job offers.
Wow.
to go to Australia. And I told my wife, Tinika, I said, look, this is not working. We need to try something else. So she started applying for jobs. Within a week, she had 3 job offers.
Of course.
And within a month, we got to Australia, and she started working. And so that was our ticket into Australia, which was great.
And that's because she's beautiful and talented, I suspect, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I married her, right?
Of course.
So a lot of credit goes to Tinika for those very first 2 years when we were starting up. We couldn't have done it without her working and bringing in a salary and cash flow to help pay for the expenses while I was trying to figure out what this business thing is. And really, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. One of the first things I did was I learned from someone else how to write a book and an ebook and how to sell it online. So that was within my first year. I ended up writing the book within 21 days and then started selling it through my first joint venture partner. Did pretty well considering for my first ever product, and was sold on the idea. But then I ran out of traffic completely because and also I didn't actually have a business. Just having an ebook is not a it's not a business.
Right.
It wasn't a business. It never will be, unless you get really, really lucky with hitting something that goes viral. But in my case, I just got those first few sales, and then we ran out of sales and traffic, and then I basically spent about 2 years to try and figure out what is this game called an online business, and not just online business, but what are proper business principles and how to set up a business properly and how to run it properly and be successful and be profitable. And during those 2 years, that was really tough. While Tinika was working, I was mucking around with the business. We weren't making any money from that business. We were making negative money.
Right.
It got to a point where I looked at Tinika one day and I said, "Look, this is not working. Let's just pack our bags, go back to New Zealand, or at least try and find me a job." At that point, I was so unemployable.
Right. Exactly.
After 2 years of being unemployed and trying to start a business, it wasn't looking so good. And one of the things I did during that time was I started interviewing people in the online space about how they became successful, because I didn't have a clue, and I thought let's just interview people who's done it. And I was going to create a whole membership out of this thing because it was all done on video. This is back in 2007, I think.
Right.
So right in the early days, I think YouTube was just starting out then, and ended up being like a crazy big project. That thing totally failed. And, which is not great for confidence back then, especially in the early days. But one of the people that I met as part of the interview series was Yarrow Stark that you mentioned. And so I interviewed him. We became friends. He noticed that I was good with video, because I was doing the whole thing on video, right? And back then, there's kind of a new thing, and he wanted to find out more about it. And he said, "Hey, Gideon, why don't you?" He commissioned me to create the first 10 videos for Become a Blogger. which is our connection with Leslie. But back in the day, it was me and Yaro that started that. So he got me to create 10 videos that he wanted to distribute for free, to build people. Because he had a blogging program, but not for beginners. So I created these 10 videos. He paid me for it. And then very quickly, we noticed that it started getting traction all by itself. Started getting a ton of views, ton of downloads. Very quickly, me and Yaro started chatting and said, why don't we do a business together on this? Why don't we create a program called Become a Blogger and promote it to people? So Yaro was traveling at the time, and he said, Gideon, if you want to do all the work, pretty much, you set up the website, you create the course. Then Yaro will bring the promotion and audience to the table. And so there's a perfect match for us. So within 6 months, we launched Become a Blogger. And within the first 2 weeks, we had about 10,000 people join our email database. And within a month, we had about $23,000 recurring income from that business.
23, yeah.
And of course,
recurring.
Yes, because it was like a recurring income business model. People would pay a monthly, I think it was $47 or something to a monthly payment. And it ran for 6 months. So we had to keep on obviously promoting to be able to keep on building that. But, within a month, we had it to about $23K a month. And, that was kind of life-changing for me because, going from zero or negative money to building a business that had relatively few costs. It was mainly me doing, all the work. I did all the graphics. I did the HTML for the site. I did all the customer support. Yaro started helping a little bit as well when he came back. But I created the whole product. I created the whole course. Yaro's contribution was heavily in the promotion and side. Getting the sales page right, promoting it out to his audience. Getting all the joint venture partners on board, all that sort of stuff. That was what he was doing while I was, doing more of the operations side. And so, it was life-changing to be able to have something of that success relatively quickly, from when we started. But, it was like a 2.5-year journey for me to get to that point.
But what did your wife say?
So
do you remember?
So
sorry. Do you remember her reaction when this started working?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first 2.5 years were kind of tough conversations we were having because she was going, we came from both of us having pretty good jobs, and now Gideon, you're mucking around here and not, what's happening? What are you actually doing to pay the bills? To put food on the table, and I didn't really have any good answers. And then she was rightly so kind of dubious to this whole idea of running a business online and being able to have it successful and paying the bills. But I mean, as anybody would, but when she still obviously had a lot of faith in me, she wouldn't have, let me do this if she didn't believe in me. So, which was amazing. But, after that point, when we started making some good money, I think it gave her a lot of a sense of relief, which was great. And, I think within 6 months or so, we started making enough money for her to actually quit her job. And then she started helping me in the business, which was great. And we worked together really well, the two of us. So, in fact, whenever we work together, that's when our relationships are strongest, which is quite interesting. A lot of people have the opposite, but we love working together. And that business allowed her to quit her job and have a much more free lifestyle as a result of that as well. And so we ended up spending a lot more time together as well because of that, which is great.
Did you come close to quitting at some points? I mean, you must have been super discouraged. And I know a lot of people that try to start online businesses, they quit. I think oftentimes they quit too soon. Pat Flynn once considered shutting down Smart Passive Income because, quote, no one was reading it. I mean, were you at that point ever?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, it's like you have those doubts almost every day, especially during the beginning days. If you haven't had any recent successes, your mind starts playing tricks on you, and depending on how you're working and where you're working and who you're working with, it can actually be a very isolating game, and there's not anybody to talk to sometimes. I think it's better now. It's a lot more people doing it. But back then, there were not many people that you could just chat to. And I think that's what was a great thing with me and Yarrow working together. We were chatting to each other every day, so we didn't feel as isolated. But certainly before that point, there were many times where I felt like giving up. I mean, probably about 2 or 3 weeks just before me and Yarrow started to become a blogger, that's when my wife and I had this discussion. I remember still to this day, it's almost like it just yesterday. We're walking next to the river in Brisbane where we lived, and just going for a sort of a walk, at the end of the day, and chatting, and I said to Tineke, this it's not working. I don't know. Let's give this thing another month or so, or 3 months, and if it doesn't work, then let's just quit the whole thing.
Gosh.
And but then it was really, really close, and then I did the project with Yarrow, and then that was my ticket into success, my first success. But I mean, since then I've had a lot of successes, which has been great. But I've also had things that didn't work. Many things. I've had a lot of things that haven't worked. Probably more things that haven't worked than compared to what has worked. And even though you might have had some successes in the past, you still get those doubts. Like I still get those doubts when I think, gosh, am I really doing the right thing here? Am I really cut out for this job? Is this a smart thing to be doing? Maybe I should just go and get a job, or whatever those thoughts are. And I think they're pretty normal. I don't think it's.
I think it's
a
super important point, right? Because you're legitimately, and we're going to get to some of this, but you're legitimately a serial entrepreneur, and you have 7-figure success stories that you can tell. And still, even with that, you have these voices of self-doubt occasionally that you have to deal with.
Absolutely. The thing is that I think people forget or don't realize is that nothing lasts forever. There's nothing that hangs around forever. And so you can have a great success with a business, and then 2 years down the track, the market has moved on. And if you haven't kept up with the market, it's very possible for that business to completely disappear. And I mean, you see this time and time and again. So by nature, I think business is vulnerable, and you're playing by the whims of the market sometimes and what people want, and you don't. It's not necessarily easy to get it right. I think the idea is simple for getting it right, but it's not easy getting it right. And I think because of that, it's a vulnerable game to be playing, and you could fail at any time. You could be successful this year, but then next year, not, and obviously there are things you can do to build, like insurance kind of things into your business. And I think that relates very much to the kind of business that you build, the kind of brand that you build, the sort of relationships that you build with peers, the sort of relationships you build with clients and customers, and the sort of assets that you build. There's a lot of things that you can do to help manage that vulnerability, but I think by nature it's vulnerable. I mean, look at something like Facebook. I don't know if they must be the top. I don't know. Is it probably in the top 10 companies of most successful companies, right?
Certainly must be, yeah.
Right. And I mean, this whole privacy issue that's been going on for a while, I mean, that has the potential to completely crush it. I mean, I'm not saying it will, but
no, but I agree with you. That is a serious threat, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's it's like the stock market, when markets. I remember way back when I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's books on real estate and investment and this sort of stuff. Mentioned that's the first time he mentioned how on the down market you can make money a lot faster. I didn't get it at first, but then you look at the graphs of the stock market. It tends to, when it goes up kind of gradually and slowly, unless it's like a fad. But when it drops, it can drop really, really quickly. And then, if you're shorting the stock, for example, you can make money a lot quicker as well, because you're sort of betting against against it going up, which means you make money on the way down. But what that tells me is that, when you look at the markets, it's driven by emotion, and so your success is really very much dependent on the whims of the market, the emotions of the market. And look at something like Facebook at the moment. If Facebook completely loses trust, which is very much tied in with our emotions, if there's no trust in a brand, then people will leave.
Right.
That's just how it is, and we'll go and search for the next thing that'll give us what we want. It catches up with you eventually. So you've got to stay on the cutting or bleeding edge of what it is that people want, and keep on delivering on it.
Well, you certainly have not been sitting back. And one of the things that has come to my attention that you've been working on lately, and one of the things that we talked about earlier in our previous conversation, is this new tool that you have out called Splashio. Now, can you tell me a little bit about exactly what Splashio is and why it's important? First, what it is, and then I want to get into a little bit of the marketing side of what the marketing idea is behind Splashio and why it's important.
Yeah, sure thing. So Splashio is a new service that we set up to help people get their message out there to the world. What I realized was that the number one pain point for people when it comes to video marketing is the video production, the video editing. Once you got the video, what do you do with it? I mean, there are other issues as well with creating the video, but recording the video and confidence and that sort of stuff can get in the way sometimes, lack of confidence at least. But say that's a given. Say you've got enough confidence to get on video and you know what you say. The next big thing is the video editing. And that's been the bane of my existence as well for the last 14 years. Like I create these videos, but then I always get slowed down with the video editing, whether I do it myself or I outsource it to someone else or I build a team in-house. It's always painful. It's always been painful. And so recently, like a year ago, I discovered that when you start captioning your videos, it basically gives you what editing would normally give you. And the only real reason you do editing for the kind of videos that we do is to help increase engagement. And when we started using captions, we realized that just by adding captions in our videos, it would provide that same level of engagement that our previous editing would do in the past. And then I thought, hey, isn't that great? What if I could set up a system where we caption people's videos and as a service, and that means they didn't have to edit their videos anymore. And that's exactly what we did. So what we get now is people submit their videos to us, their raw videos, there's no editing done on them. They submit it to us, and then 24 hours later, they get it back in a really nicely formatted video, like really nicely formatted for social media in a square format with a headline and that sort of thing, and then captioned. That's the important thing. So we send that back within 24 hours. And people love it because they don't have to do any editing. It like completely removes that barrier for them to get their voice out there into the world.
Now, besides the videos being friendly even to people who can't hear or can't turn on the volume or whatever, what you're saying is that you can materially see, you can measure increase, I guess you would increase time on video. The abandonment rate goes down on the video, essentially.
Yeah, right. So engagements, it's the word that often gets used, with video or retention. And it also manifests in more views, but also more other engagement factors like more comments, more likes, more shares, this sort of thing. So that's very much measurable. One of our clients, Marcus Sheridan, he was one of our early users. He told us that once he started using our Splashio service, he started getting a 300% increase in views.
Wow! Just
by using our service, and that blew us away. That was incredible. And so he got most of his results on LinkedIn. And he said he had a massive increase in click-through rates as well. I didn't get the number from him, but he did say he got an increase there too. There was one of our users who. Tim Sanders, who he's a well-known public speaker and thought leader on leadership in the States, and his videos were getting a good number of views. Then he started using Splashio. Soon afterwards, one of his videos went completely viral on LinkedIn. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was 1.4 or 1.2 million views that he got on that video. And he's never had anything like that before, which is really awesome. I mean, one sort of anecdotal story for myself is when I published my very first video on LinkedIn. I had about 550 connections on there at the time when I did this. My very first video, and I think my very first post, not even just video, but my very, very first video got like 26,000 views, and I forget the number of comments and likes, but a huge number of comments and likes, which I did not expect. So those are quite anecdotal, but I mean, some tests have been done as well, independent from us. I think Unbounce, I think it was them that did a test. It's been a while since I looked at it now, because I looked at it when we started the business. But they did some tests and compared what would happen if you just added captions to your videos, and they saw some very significant increases in click-through rates, in views, and engagement, in more comments. So it makes a difference. And you think about the reason why. I mean, apparently 85% of people who watch videos on I think this is from Facebook, and it'd be similar on other social media platforms, they watch it on silent, on autoplay.
Yeah,
which means,
that's me. I'm sitting in a meeting or in some situation where it's not appropriate to have the audio on. And if there's no captioning, I have no choice but to scroll by because there's nothing for me to do.
Correct. And so if you do have the captions in there, people can read what the video is about while it autoplays. And it's even better if you can add a nice catchy headline to the top of your video, as a headline inside the video. Which is a very popular format to help you. I guess that just stops people in their scrolling, and they can actually quickly read what the video is about, and it stands out, and there's color, and then the captions moving as well, so they can get more information, so you can draw them in. So I think they all play together to help you get a better result from your videos.
Okay, so where can people go if they want to try out Splashio?
So we actually have a free trial on at the moment. I'm not sure if we'll keep this particular free trial on forever, but it's there at the moment, where you can get 4 video credits for free. So that's worth like about $100. And just keep in mind here, this is like we don't have any software, so you don't actually use software in Splashio. That's one of the tenets in Splashio. We don't ever want our clients to use software, because that defeats the purpose of us trying to remove that pain of editing. We want people to just submit their video and boom, they're done. So then we take care of the editing. So it's a service, So we, as part of our free trial, you can get free 4 video credits. Each one is worth up to 5 minutes worth of video that you can submit, and so it's a 7-day free trial. So after 7 days, if you like it, your credit card or PayPal account will get charged. If you don't like it, you can just cancel, and no questions asked, and you keep those credits. So you can get that right, at the moment at splashio.com. Just splash and then .com. Yeah. And
I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and I'll also show some of these really nice looking video templates. One of the things that, we can't talk about everything it's worth going to look at, but one of the cool things about Splashio that I really like is that you can pick from several different templates depending on what your target platform is and what you think would look nice for your application. So I'll put some of those examples in the show notes as well. And you guys can check that out at latenightim.com.
Yeah, with our templates, just a quick note there. We've got a relatively small number of templates, but the way we look at it is that it's it's kind of like the pizza shop analogy, where you've got the base there, and then you can use different ingredients to create your own flavor, right? So it's the same thing with our templates. We've got a relatively small number, but with the different variations you can have with the colors and with your fonts and with your graphics and that sort of stuff, you can basically make it look any way you want.
Gideon Shalwick, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think people should go check out splashio.com. Get seen. I really appreciate your time today, man. Tell us the URL one more time.
All right, so just splashio.com, so SPLASHEO.com. So it's like splash, splashing water, and then EO at the end.com. Easy.
Very good, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Let's talk soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay. As promised, we're going to cut Gideon off there because next week, Gideon's going to be back and he's going to tell us why he does what he does. I'm going to play the second half of our conversation for you, and how a seemingly straightforward thing like a site that helps people publish their videos can actually be aligned with your why, and how that's helped Gideon be incredibly successful and fulfilled with his online work. We'll see you next week. I can't wait to talk to you then. Ciao.
You can do it right when it's late at night.
You've been listening to the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Be sure to visit latenightpodcast.com today to leave feedback for Mark. Download special bonus content, access the show notes, and more. See you there.
Until then, go and make some great progress on your internet business. One night at a time.
One night at a time.
Now, is it true? Well, I've never been to Australia, which is sad. I've been almost everywhere else in the world, but not to Australia. And I've heard as soon as you arrive there, things are trying to kill you. Scorpions and kangaroos and all. Is that true, or is it really not like that?
No, look, we've lived here for 14 years now, and I think we've seen 2 snakes in total, and both of them were when we went walking in nature, far away from where we live. And another time we actually did see a blue-tongued lizard, which is not actually a snake, but they do look like snakes if you just see their heads. And that's about as close as we got to, deadly animals here in Australia. So
I'm glad.
I'm from South Africa originally, and I mean, there it really is like that. There's almost anything and anybody wants to kill you, for mainly their dinner, and or just for fun sometimes. So moving to Australia has been, a very mild sort of a thing for us. There's nothing really that wants to kill you in comparison.
That's awesome.
Late night internet marketing.
Hey, it's Mark again. I wanted to tell you one more time about this absolutely free resource that I have for helping people who are trying to get the big picture for internet marketing, actually get started and understand what all their choices are. If that's not you, there's no more content. You can skip to the end. But if you're someone who came to this podcast because you're searching for how to get started online and you just can't cut through all the noise, I get it. That was me. In 2007, when I was trying to get started, there were so many people throwing offers at me that I really couldn't even understand what all the different business models were. I couldn't understand how money moved around on the internet, and I couldn't really get a grip on what direction I wanted to go in so I could figure out how to move forward. I've created a free video resource for you just for that purpose at latenightim.com/explain. In several short videos, I just explained to you what internet marketing is all about and what online business is all about and the different options that you have for starting an online business. There's nothing to buy there. You just sign up for access and you get the videos just like that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you know someone who's in a same situation, send them that link, latenightim.com/explain. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what people are thinking that are in the exact same position that I was in more than a decade ago in 2007. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. And in some ways, it seems like an entire lifetime ago. Again, that's latenightim.com/explain.
Late night internet marketing.